Hello, 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 hello. Welcome in, welcome in.
Skid said something,
Oop,
and it made me.
I wanted that to turn down. Let's go ahead and tap that screen, start sharing the live. Let's get this out. How you doing, Bad Religion? Can you hear me okay? Just let me know if you can hear me okay. I always get nervous when I'm doing these dual streams. All right. Also, let's do the soundboard check. We gotta knock out the soundboard check. Let me know if you hear Gurr. If you heard Gurr, let me know. All right, I think we are ready to rock and roll. Just waiting to get our first guest up here. I genuinely want to know, why is God a sick fuck? Let's start tapping that screen, sharing the live. Dang right, over on YouTube, Jen. Absolutely right. What a way to make another Christian holler. Another day, another dollar, another way to make a Christian holler. I agree. I absolutely agree. And over on YouTube, I'm glad we're good over there as well. So let's go ahead, start tapping that screen, sharing the live. There has been somebody that's kind of been coming around in the various lives. Um Oh, I see them. I see them in here. It's Autumn. We'll see if Autumn has any answers today. They've been hopping up in a few lives. So, genuinely curious. Also, I am streaming on YouTube as well. So, if you haven't followed me on YouTube, go ahead and hop on over there and give me a follow as well. And then you can come back here or you can watch me over there. I'm going to bring Rolly up. As we wait for Rolly to load up.
I loaded.
You are loaded. Let's get you popped up on screen. How you doing, real? Hey, not a problem for yesterday. So yeah, Christians, I genuinely want to know, why is God a sick monster? Because I'm trying to stay in YouTube's good graces. So probably after the first 20 minutes of this live, we can switch to some other backgrounds. And yes, absolutely, 10K likes on TikTok definitely does make me happy. We're at 2.1K. We've got, let's see who can get the most followers though. Right now we've got 10 on TikTok, we've got 4 on YouTube. Um and hey, if you do know of any Christians, run across the street, knock on their door, run to your neighbor's house, knock on their door, um, throw a rock at your neighbor's window in the backyard, and when they say, "Hey, why'd you do that?" just say, "There's an atheist on TikTok and YouTube right now. Hop on and go tell him why God is a justified God." Just hop on up and explain it to them. And so, real quick, we got Bad Religion over on TikTok. We have Rolly up on panel. We have Real in here. FSST's in. Jay the Zay is in. Use. I'll just name Fricklenberg is in. Yolly Yolly is in. Solar is in. We've got Dusty Buds in, and we've got Tiger Eye in. So let's keep sharing that thing. And over on Tic Tac over on YouTube. Confucius is in. We've got Jen is in. We've got Nanology in. So I appreciate you guys hanging out. Those are people that I've seen in the chat so far. Confucius, last time you knocked on a Christian's door, they were baking children. But yeah, let's see if we can get some people up here. I'm waiting for Autumn to come in. Autumn has been like hitting all of our friendlies' lives, like all of them. So we do have a few other lives going on right now. Crystal is live with Joel and Mezzo right now. Um, as a matter of fact, Leaving Faith is live right now. So might be a bit getting people on in here, but we will see. We will see. But let's keep tapping that screen, sharing the live. Icy Blue, welcome in. Barry D, welcome in. Rolly, thank you for the heart me. Real, thank you so much for the hand heart. Also, if you do want to support us in other ways, go ahead. Just check in. Okay, thought my YouTube froze. Go ahead and check our bios on TikTok. It is in the links on YouTube. You can support us that way. You can support us through Cash App and Venmo. And speaking of those, let me get those opened up on my phone, because as I receive them, I will try my best to call them out as I see them. Sometimes I miss them, so I might need to call them out in between lives. Mama Bash, welcome in. Double Donkey, welcome in. Xdrath, welcome in. Matlock, Making Beauty, welcome in, everybody. Larry, I don't know if I shouted out Larry, but welcome in, Larry. Then we've got mods over on YouTube. So yeah, I'm just waiting to see if we get some Christians on. If you're over on YouTube and you wanna come on in, hop on over to TikTok. I can debate you here starting on hopefully this next weekend, but on Thursday or Friday, I'm gonna hopefully be working with Benny to start taking YouTube callers. So we'll be able to do that. Matlock, I'm sorry you've never been called out before. I try to. Look, we can't do this without you guys. Hello, Ems. Without you guys, the most impactful thing that you can do to help us out is tapping that screen and sharing the live. That's the most impactful thing you can do, is just tapping that nose. And if you're a Christian, try to give me a bloody nose. Just keep hitting that nose till it gets bloody. And that's the best. That's how we get this out. And then I'm really hoping to set up on YouTube. I'm trying to get my watch hours up. I do have the number count to start accepting super chats. I still need to get to 1,000 to get monetized, but I am at the number to receive super chats. I just need the watch hours. The watch hours are what's important. Then I can start accepting super chats. And again, super chats, when they come, I will be trying to call those out as soon as I can. Oh man, my internet's deciding it wants to be fidgety today. We got. All right, so is that Yali or Jalil? Just curious how it's a Yali or Jalil. Because sometimes J makes both sounds, so I'm curious, because I don't want to be mispronouncing it if I don't need to be. And J the they. Man, I can't talk today. Apparently something makes sounds. We have Hanji has just entered the chat. Matlock sharing the frack out of the lives. See. I gotta watch that language. How you doing, Hanji?
I'd be better, but I got screwed over. So there's a book that I'm missing. I have the first book and the last book in the series. I'm missing the middle fucking book. I go on Macari. I order the book. They fucking cancel it because they reserved it for someone else. If you reserved it for someone else, then why the fuck do you still have it in the listing for sale? Sorry.
Hanji, first 20 minutes. No cussing yet.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
So now I
No,
have
no,
to wait
it's
for Macari to give the money back into my account, and that's going to take 5 to 10 malacus business days. I am fuming. Yeah.
yeah. I wish they'd pay more attention to that. The worst thing I had is when I was in the Marine Corps. I was on my last day of leave, having flights. Everything was going perfect, and then one of the connecting flights was overbooked, and they're like, "Oh, you gotta go," and I'm like, "Wait, what? Why me?" And I'm like, I'm on. I'm like, I gotta get there. Like, well, are you on orders? And I forgot to print off my leave papers, so I did not have my orders saying when my leave ended. So I was kind of up a creek without a paddle.
Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah, let's invite Authority of Yahweh up. Authority of Yahweh. I'm curious what his answer is. Come on up, Authority of Yahweh. Let's talk about it. Hanji sent you an invite. So let's see if Authority of Yahweh comes up and wants to chat. Thank you, Miss Cat 420. I like my hat too. So this is one of 3. I also have this one. This one's my buffalo hat, and I also have my grandpa's hat back there somewhere. And apparently, Lion of Yahweh is not feeling the roar today. The Lion of Yahweh just jetted out of the live, it looks like. They ran. They are a frackin' coward.
I
And
apologize for rage,
no,
by
no,
the way.
you're good. You're good.
Oh.
Bad Religion is absolutely smashing the frack out of that corn. Hello, Nanners. How are you doing today? If you're not following Nanners, if Nanners leaves a comment, give Nanners a follow. Nanners has been studying religion for quite a while as well, and Nanners debates religion as well. My authority is Nahweh. That's over on YouTube. Yeah, that's the thing. These Christians with their Holy Spirit, they tend to. I don't think they actually know what the Holy Spirit feels like, and I think they just don't feel it. I think they have. Oh, keeps slipping my mind. What's it called when you start sympathizing for your kidnapper? Stockholm syndrome. They have Stockholm syndrome. Christianity has them so convinced, and they just suffer from Stockholm syndrome. They don't even realize that the whole sacrifice that Jesus did is literally just God gaslighting us. It's like somebody, a bus coming, and the person could have just pulled you out of the way, but instead of just pulling you out of the way, they pulled you out of the way and then got hit by the bus, got injured by the bus, and now they're looking at you being like, "Look what I did for you." And all you're like is, all you needed to do is pull me out of the way. You didn't need to like throw yourself in front of it. That wasn't required. But that's what Jesus did. God could have just literally just pulled us out of the way, but no, instead, according to the story, he pulled us out of the way and threw himself in front of it just to gaslight us. Confucius over on YouTube had Stockholm Syndrome on his bingo card. That is wild, but I'm glad you had it. You probably got that from Justin. Justin does run a background with Stockholm Syndrome. And RC, thank you so much for the heart meet. I appreciate it. Well, Jaden over on YouTube, hop on over to TikTok and let's chat about it. Jaden over on YouTube is saying, bro created the universe, which has rules, gravity, physics, etc., including a price for sin. Then he saw us, fell to sin instantly, and knew he had to be our righteous and save us. What do you mean? Well, hop in the box. Let's talk about it. You got to come over to TikTok. Come hop on TikTok. Let's chat about it. I would love to hear your arguments for this. Right now, RC, I am only accepting opposition right now. If I bring up friendlies, it messes with the FYP, which is why I'm trying to ensure that I'm talking about the religious stuff. Jaden, you keep yapping over on YouTube. Come over to TikTok. We can talk here. Starting next week, though, you can come up on YouTube. I'll be able to bring you up. Everybody in the YouTube chat, let's go ahead and put L Jaden for not coming over to TikTok. All you have to do is come over to TikTok and we can talk. Is Morning Dragon Sage up here? Let's give what's Morning Dragon Sage saying? If they're saying something, let's give them an invite. Hanji gave you an invite, Morning Dragon Sage. Hop on up. Let's talk about it. Yes, over on YouTube. If you want to join the TikTok, the link is in the description on how to get over here. So you can hop on over here. Oh, Fresh has been invited by Hanji. We got somebody coming up.
Hello.
What's
Fresh.
good, brother?
What's your age, please? Fresh, what is your age, please?
Oh, I'm 26.
Perfect. And you're a Christian?
Yeah.
Awesome. So why is your God a sick monster?
Oh, I don't think that's a very kind thing to say about anybody, but I guess I would ask you the same thing if that's what you're saying.
Well, we don't burden shift here. You were asked the question. This is your internal critique. So why is God a sick monster?
You almost went all ways there.
Well, let me go ahead and ask you a question. Do you think that it is ever okay to have captive brides? Do you think that's ever okay?
I don't know what a captive bride is, brother.
Oh, yeah, we can go ahead and read this. So we've got two things here that we're gonna talk about real quick, and let me get the scripture brought up real quick, because I did actually get this fixed. So what we're gonna read is we're gonna start out over here in. Yeah, we'll start out in Deuteronomy 20. So in Deuteronomy 20, these are the war verses, and this says, when you draw near a town to fight against it, offer it terms of peace. If it accepts your terms of peace and surrenders to you, then all the people in it shall serve you at forced labor. But if it does not accept your terms of peace and makes war against you, you shall besiege it. And when the Lord your God gives it into your hands, you shall put all its males to the swords. You may, however, take as your plunder the women, the children, livestock, and everything else in the town, all its spoils. And you may enjoy the spoils of your enemies, which the Lord your God has given you. Right? So the reason why this is problematic is, let's say you end up in, irregardless of whatever the situation is, you find a woman amongst these women that you like, a virgin that you like. Well, we'll go over right to the next chapter. Over in Deuteronomy 21, We have the when you go out to war against your enemies and God hands them over to you and you take them captive, right? Meaning that they didn't surrender, they went to war against you, and so God has turned them over to you. Suppose you see among the captives a beautiful woman whom you desire and want to marry, and so you bring her home to your house. She shall shave her head, par her nails, and discard her captive's garbs, and remain in your house a full month, mourning for her father and mother. After that, you may go into her. And whenever it states you may go into her, whenever in the Bible you see go into her, what do you think this is in reference to?
I'm I'm not gonna presume on that one, but I'm sure
It
there'd be
means you can go.
presumptions.
It means you can go have sex with her. It means you can go have smex with her, and be her husband, and she shall be your wife. But if you're not satisfied with her, you shall let her go free, and certainly not sell her for money. You must not treat her as a slave, since you have dishonored her. So again, up here we have the rules that allows you to take them to be captive. And then here
Hmm.
we have what you can do with the women that you find attractive as a warrior, and you can take them captive. Do you think this is justified?
What I would assume is going on there, and again, assuming, is around that time there's probably a lot of war, and the way that things usually go down is there's probably a lot of R word activity going on.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this format that God's bringing to them is saying, you know what, if this is how you guys are going to do it, you're going to make her your wife, and at the very least she's honored, and it's not committing adultery with her, where at least she's your wife. I don't agree with any of that. That sounds not super chill, but again,
Well, it's
it's
not
not,
about.
I
Well,
wouldn't
go
say
ahead.
he's setting this evil thing to do, but more making it a less evil thing for the time. And there's so many things where at different times there's different normal behaviors. There's a lot of behaviors going on now that if God gave us some instruction, it'd be cool. But then looking back on it 100 years from now, people would be like, "Whoa, is he like encouraging that thing?" It's like, no, he's probably just guiding them through it
So the
in a way
question
that's
Cyber,
is, yep,
reset your Michael.
yeah, I'm trying to. So the question is though, is God beholden to human tradition?
no, but I think there's a lot of things that come up in my life where even I'm like, "Hey, God, what should I do about this?" And I think Deuteronomy, that's coming from like a prophet or something, like somebody speaking for God. So probably going up to God on Israel's behalf, sort of like, "Yo, what do we do about this?" And then he's giving a message back.
So what Deuteronomy is right before they enter the promised land. They're about to enter the promised land. As you know, Moses was not allowed to enter the promised land. And so, as they're about to enter the promised land, God gives his last set of laws. So that's what Deuteronomy is the last set of laws that God gives, and it's how they're to conduct themselves in the promised land once they entered the promised land. So that's not why they were given while they're wandering in the 40 years. This is for their conduct in the promised land. And so yeah, of course God knew there was going to be war and stuff, but the question is though, is God gives commands like don't wear mixed fabrics, you can't eat pork, don't let a razor blade touch your face, and he gives all these rules. Um, but when it comes to this case of grape, he doesn't get rid of it. He says, "No, it's cool. Go ahead." He's like, in fact, you're going to unalive the men, right? So the rule for the war is if they surrender, the only term of surrender um is slavery. Slavery is the only form of um surrender you accept. If they don't want to be slaves, you're going to unalive the men, and then you're going to take the women and the children to be slaves. Um, but this is still grape in other way. God could have just said, "No, don't grape them. It's not allowed. Adopt them into your culture." In fact, he could have just said, "Don't go to war with people. Try to actually make treaties with them instead."
Right. I Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think Because I've read stuff like that too, where it's like, well, why was God having these, allowing the young boys to be killed as well? But I think it has to do with like the bloodline, and he's giving them this holy land because they've honored, they've trusted God, and they're God's people, so he's going to give them a good land. But if they maybe don't get rid of some of the guys might, come back, take things over, sort
Oh,
of have their bloodline go ahead and get back and get active.
so God's
I
just going to take away their free will then? God's just going to
No,
say,
that's
forget their
that's
free will.
in what way? I don't.
Oh yeah,
I
because
don't
it is
know.
the
That's
case.
taking
Yeah,
away
yeah,
free
because it
will.
would be the case is that if because that takes away their free will. If you're going to presuppose that God is saying, hey, their bloodline may survive, thus it's justified to unalive them. I just think that's horrible. In fact, we actually get where that commandment is coming from. So I'll get that brought up. And that's actually the second part of the war verses we just read. It's actually the second part of that where God actually does give that command. So we'll read that here. So we ended with you may you may enjoy the spoils of your enemies, the Lord has given you. Now he talks about in verse 15. No, let me bring this up a little bit so you'll be able to see it. Verse 15, thus you shall treat the towns that are very far away from you, which are not the towns of the nation. So he's not talking about the nations above. Let me bring this up because we're not going to be able to read all of this. We'll get this brought back up. Verse 15, thus you shall treat all the towns that are very far away from your surrounding nations here. But as for the towns of these people that the Lord your God is giving you as an inheritance, so these are the lands that these are the people's lands that they're to take, right? This is the land that was promised to Abraham and Isaac, right? So this is the land that we're talking about. You must not let anything that breathes remain alive. Indeed, you shall annihilate them. The Hittites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, just as the Lord your God has commanded. And why is this going on? So that they may not teach you to do all the abhorrent things that they do for their gods, and you thus sin against the Lord your God. So these nations, God is saying these people are to be annihilated completely. You can't even let anything that breathes remain. Now, something I want you to notice in these nations, though, and I think this is important. You notice the Amalekites are not listed here. The Amalekites haven't, the Amalekites, they're not listed here. And the Amalekites is another issue that we'll probably get to here shortly. But the Amalekites, they're not listed here. And I think that's important. And I just got another goal smashed. Dugald and Miss Michelle are absolutely smashing the absolute fuck out of these goals. I think I've been live long enough. I think I can say that now. But yeah, so it's not a case of God just seeing that these people are going to do things. We already got those people. God already said, no, those people you're going to annihilate totally because they're going to come back and do things. So that doesn't apply to these other nations. These other nations are just people that they're going to go to war with, and God wants them to enslave the people that they go to war with. It's either annihilate or enslave.
Right. I mean, I'm not gonna try to sway your mind on it. This is just how I look at it in terms of, I found a lot of help from the Lord, and a lot of I was saving, soul and life otherwise. But when it comes to, let's say for example, and again, I'm not trying to justify anything here, but say for example, you had a son, and there was some kids he's hanging out with
Mm-hmm.
that hanging out with them would cost your son his eternal soul, like
Okay.
forever. You'd probably go to any means and encourage any means to save your child's, eternal soul. I mean, that's probably a big deal, even in opposed to these people's lives. And again, I'm not saying, kill people who are sinners. I think the Old Testament, there's a lot of things you could call out, but if
So
I'm going to
the
sit here and try to talk
yeah,
about that
so
specifically, that's where I would go with it.
yeah, so the issue I have with these like me as a parent with my children is one that I'm not
Hmm.
all knowing, right? I'm not all knowing. I I have no effect over the mental states, as far as manipulating them for my children or them. However, God, being all knowing and all powerful, does have the ability to do this, right? And so if God really cared about this, he could just make it so that people just desire not to sin, and that doesn't affect free will. So God could have just taken away their desire to do these things.
Yeah, well, you said it right there. It's we're not all knowing, and he
Mm-hmm.
is, and it's if we lean on our own understanding, we're gonna have these issues. But the same way, people were using the law in the wrong way, and they were sort of the same way Isaiah says, like, let not the eunuch say, I am a dry tree, because in Deuteronomy it says, like, yo, keep the eunuchs out of the church and all that. And then people use the law in a way that was negative. I don't know why
Well,
God
yeah, but we're
wouldn't
talking
allow
about,
eunuchs in
but
there,
we're
but
talking
then later
about,
spoke about. Well, I'm just
yeah,
saying
but
that
we're,
you could call out specific things in the law, and that's why
oh,
Christ came and
yeah, we
died for
will,
all
but
of
we're
us,
talking about slavery. Like in
because
my
we were
worldview,
monstrous.
well, my worldview, like slavery is never okay, right?
Well,
Let's
you've
say there
lived
were,
in a
well,
non-slave era.
hold on. Let's say it is a case of some children are trying to lead one of my kids astray, right? Know what I'm not gonna do? I am not going to go and physically assault these kids. I'm not going to go and unalive these kids. I'm certainly not going to tell my son that, hey, when you go to school, there are children there that may try to lead you away. And because they may try to cause eternal damnation to your soul, instead of allowing them to do that, I want you to walk up to every child you see and just punch them in the face and let them know that you are not to be converted. Right? I'm not going to do that. That's just insane. And as a god, what I would expect from a god, let me ask you a question. Do you have a
Mhm.
desire to go outside and start eating rocks? Like small pebbles?
No, I was biting my fingernails as you said that though. So maybe if they were like real chippy, like some fingernails, I might, not be able to, keep
Yeah,
myself
but
from it, I
but
suppose.
yeah, but have you ever had the desire to just like go outside and see a pebble? Have you ever looked at a small pebble and been like, you know what? That belongs in my belly.
I'm gonna say no.
No, right? And but you have the free will to do that, right? You can absolutely go outside right now, pick up a pebble, take it into the house, wash it, boil it, do whatever you need to do to make it clean, and you could definitely throw that in your mouth and swallow it if you wanted, right?
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, so God could have given people a desire to not want to assault each other, to not want to, let's say the Israelites did set up their encampments. God could have just given people the desire to not make war, right? He could have made that. And that doesn't tamper with free will, but he could have done that. But he chose otherwise. He chose to set up a world in which war and the spreading of nations is caused only through war. And again, unfortunately, with the Old Testament, God commanded slavery as a result of the people losing the war.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm just curious how we justify this. I would say that makes this God a sick fuck. If God could have chosen to do otherwise, if God did not want this to be the case, he could have chosen otherwise. Or he could have said, if you are going there, make peace with them. Because the way war worked in ancient times is you would send emissaries in. Your emissaries would go, they'd stop at the gate, they would they would meet with people at the gate, and then you would say, hey, we're about to attack your town. If you don't want us to attack your town, these are our demands. And then the people at the gate, if it wasn't the leadership themselves, they would take those to the leader, and then the leader would either come out and meet you, or they would send a list of counter demands, and they would say, hey, we see that your military is bigger than us. We're going to get absolutely bodied, but here's what we can do instead. Maybe we'll pay you a yearly, monthly, whatever tribute, and you don't attack us. That's how the exchanges happen, and then they either decide upon a peaceful solution, or they end up going to war when one nation decides, hey, that's not enough. Or maybe the city tells them to fucking get wrecked and get bent and come attack us, and then the city does an effective repel, right? These are the way war is traditionally done. But God doesn't give that as the offering. God says the only condition for surrender is slavery, enslavement. That's the only condition of peace.
Well, I don't want to, argue on God's behalf, and because I don't know what was going on at the times. I don't know the context of, this specific war, but let's say maybe he's all knowing, he knows that maybe they would have went and tried to talk it out and then got backstabbed, or maybe they wouldn't have listened to some sort of argument for,
we'll
signing a peace treaty because they had a smaller army. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know these things.
Yeah,
but again,
we'll read God's words
I don't
again.
see why he would send his own son if he was a monster. That's
Well,
my reason.
We'll get to that here in a minute. So we'll read it again. When you draw near
You're gonna
a
work all
town
the
to
way
fight
through
against it,
Deuteronomy.
yeah, when you draw near a town to fight against it, offer it terms of peace. If it accepts, this is the part. If it accepts your terms of peace and surrenders to you, and can you read this next part here? I am going to highlight that in red. Can you read that next part for me?
Oh, you got to log in first.
Yeah. Can you read that
Then
red
all
part for me?
people in it shall serve you a forced labor.
Yeah, what does that
these
mean?
things are, contextual at the time.
But God's not bound.
I don't wanna
God's not
argue forced
bound to
slavery, but-
human traditions. But you wanted to mention Jesus because you brought up why did he send Jesus? Here's my question. God is all powerful, right?
What was that? I'm sorry.
God is all powerful, right?
Yeah, that's how I understand it.
Yeah, and God is all knowing, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And God being all powerful and all knowing, he could do forgiveness in any way he wanted. He could literally just forgive us, right?
That's, in my pursuit as a Christian, I'm not just, go out there and accept it because, I feel good on Sundays. That's something I've explored as well and really looked into because I didn't really understand. But my understanding of it, like I said in the YouTube, is, the creator of the universe, he has rules that he set, gravity is a thing.
You're Jaden.
Physics.
You're Jaden from YouTube?
Yeah, silly goose.
Oh, sorry. Well, hold on. Your name on here is
It's fresh. Yeah, sorry.
So for the YouTube, this is Jaden. Okay, I just want to make sure because you're over on YouTube. I do appreciate you coming over here. So the issue that we're going to have though is that God set the rules for the universe. God set those rules. God decided what is sin. God decided what's not sin. He decides what's good, bad. He decides the punishment. He decides the judgment. He decides all these things, and we have plenty of cases where people are forgiven. David is forgiven plenty of times. David's messing up all the time, and God forgives him. And there's other people that are forgiven because they prayed or they did something and they're forgiven. It's also the case that, let's say somebody couldn't afford an animal sacrifice, a grain sacrifice was perfectly acceptable if they couldn't afford an animal sacrifice. And you may have heard me mentioning it earlier because I think I had mentioned it right before I saw your comment over on YouTube, was that let's say you're standing in the road. Let's say you're standing in the road. And let's say I reach over and I see a bus coming. You're listening. You have your headphones. I work for Amazon. I have headphones in all the time. I may not hear vehicles. So let's say you have your Beats on. You're in the road. And let's say I grab you and pull you out. And then I look and I see the bus still there. You see the bus, it's a distance away, and then I just jump in front of the bus. And then I get hit and I don't unalive, but let's say I'm extremely injured, right? And then I try to guilt trip you. I try to say, hey, look at this. I got injured for you. Are you going to look at me like I'm crazy if that's the scenario?
I don't think Christ calls it out too much as far as, hey, I just died for you, go ask for, I think he lived for us and then died for us. And then everybody was like, whoa, I see it now in terms of going back to Isaiah and seeing when it was, coming to fruition, which is more just an explanation of what's going on. I don't think he ever
I'll
tries to
be
guilt trip it
right
in any
back.
way.
All right, Hanji.
God bless you, Anji.
Well, no, but what I'm saying though is me jumping in front of that bus is completely unnecessary. 100%
Well,
unnecessary.
in your understanding, we're looking at it in worldly terms. I think our eternal souls are probably something that's a little bit outside of our realm of understanding. I
Well,
don't think
yeah,
he'd go
but
through all that excruciating, horrible pain just for, to
well,
make us feel
well,
guilty. I
well,
don't, I
well let,
don't.
let me ask you. Let me ask you a clarifying question about your belief in Jesus. Do you believe
Yes,
Jesus
sir.
is God?
Yeah, I'm still in my, I pray a lot on trying to understand the Trinity a bit, but again, that's another thing where I'm like, hey, it's God. I'm not gonna fully understand God, but yeah, I see it as three in one.
Yeah.
Is sort of
So,
how I've been
what
learning.
what makes you think that Jesus suffered on the cross? What makes you think that he actually suffered?
The historical sort of conversations of what the cross was like in terms of the 40 lashings or 39 or whatever.
Yeah, but
Um,
if I
Carrying an
was
actual
God,
cross and then being nailed to it, that probably wouldn't feel very good. I imagine it's
well,
probably
yeah, but
not the best.
if I was God and inspiring writers to write a book about my crucifixion, where you know, I set myself to sacrifice myself to protect mankind from myself, I'd probably have them write in, yeah, and right here, write about how painful it was. Because if they don't realize that I, as a deity, felt pain, they're just not going to accept this. Like, write how painful it was. But as a
When did they
deity,
talk about how painful it was?
well, no, that's the image that it gives, though, right? When they're talking about the crushing of the crown on his head, the lashings from the whips, when they're doing these are all to elicit a response because it's painful. We've seen imagery of this. We've watched movies that have this kind of stuff in it. So it's in there to elicit brutality and to get a sympathy response from us. That's why these are in there. And so, but
Interesting.
Jesus,
I always saw it so differently, where it was like I saw like a shame in it, where it's like, man, that like imagine that happening to me, I wouldn't feel too great, sort of walking around. I think they strip him naked too, and it's like I,
mhm.
yeah, obviously that's sort of feeling bad for him, but then I feel seen by it in a way where it's like, dude, what a horrible thing to like go through. Oh, I've went through horrible things. Like God understands me, and there's so many
Well,
times in my life where I pray something and I
well,
just
that's what I'm
feel
saying.
heard in the
That's
same way.
Yeah, that's the purpose. It's to elicit a response from you. It's to make it where you can respond to it. But this is a God. Gods don't feel pain, right? He could have been hanging up on the cross, turned that pain off, never knew it. And you never would have known the difference, right? It could be the case, and one of the purposes too of a sacrifice, right? Because it says that he sacrificed to take our place, right? And so that's how justice
Mhm.
was served. But the other issue is like the purpose of sacrifice is the entitlement of getting that animal, the whole entailment. So when you sacrifice an animal, it's more than just grabbing an animal, taking it in sacrifice. This is an animal that has to be carefully selected at the time of
Mhm.
birth, right? So it's carefully selected because it has parameters that it has to meet. And then you have to either hire somebody or take extra care of that animal. It's not allowed to be in the flocks with the other animals because it can't be blemished. So you have to essentially have a babysitter for this animal for 24 hours, 7 days a week until it is time for it to be sacrificed. Then you have to travel with it, and depending on where you live, that travel takes time. So you have to travel with the sacrifice. That takes time and money and time away from your work, right? Keep in mind, Galilee was 90 miles away from Jerusalem one way. That's Galilee. So you have to travel with the sacrifice and lose that time, work. And then this animal is a permanent loss. Once this animal is sacrificed, it's gone forever, right? So it's more than just being sorry for your sins. It's more than that. It's all the time and effort that this animal takes to raise to be sacrificed. And so for a God to that knows, because of Jesus is God, that knows he's going to be back in 3 days, he's just losing a weekend, I'm going to be back in 3 days. I just don't see how that's analogous to something that is lost forever.
We talked about it being without blemish. I mean, he's the only man I know of to live without sin. And that's without blemish. I think that holds a weight of its own beyond, knowing he was going to be raised from the dead.
Well, how do you know he was sinless, though? How do you know that?
Well, he's Jesus Christ, dude. Come on. Like,
Well, no, that's what the narrative says. Do you remember the what he did when he was in the temple?
which one? What do you mean the
In
temple?
Matthew, he goes to the temple and he sees the money exchanging happening. What does he do?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What does he do?
He acted on his authority.
Well, but what did he do, though?
Told him that they were not supposed to be selling pigeons and whatnot, and that they were, trying to make money in the Father's house.
Yeah, and in John,
I
it
don't know
also
the exact.
explains in John, in the Gospel of John, that he sat down and made a whip. Now, it doesn't explicitly say like he was whipping people. That's not explicitly said. But I would explain that he was at least threatening people with the whip. There's no reason to add the whip narrative in John if that didn't happen. But did you know that when he did that, he explicitly broke Torah? He explicitly broke the law that God had set.
Well, didn't he also eat on the Sabbath and heal on the Sabbath? Sort of showing the true law being love, and for the sake of loving your God and loving your neighbor,
Well,
those being the most
that's what I'm saying
important
is he
representations of the
broke
law.
Torah. Well, he broke Torah all the time, right? That's the point. Is he wasn't like sinless. He broke the law all the time. So here's the one that I'm talking about. So this is in Deuteronomy 14. But if when the Lord your God has blessed you, the distance is so great that, so this is talking about sacrifice, that you are unable to transport it because the place where the Lord your God will choose. Keep in mind, at this time, they're still wandering the desert. So they have a tabernacle with them at the time. It's like a traveling temple, if you will. And we don't actually get a physical temple built until Solomon. But because the place where the Lord your God will choose to set his name is too far away from you, then you may turn it into money. With the money secure in hand, go to the place that the Lord your God will choose. Spend the money for whatever you wish, oxen, sheep, wine, strong drink, or whatever you desire. And you shall eat there in the presence of the Lord your God, you and your household rejoicing together. And the reason why we know that this, whenever it talks about the place the Lord that God will choose, the reason why we know that's the temple is because the only place that you are truly in the presence of God is in the temple, right? Because the Holy of Holies, the Ark and the Covenant, was his judgment seat, right? So it's a nice story to say, well, look at how Jesus is breaking the law, and you're going to interpret that as, look how loving he is. He's trying to do these. But no, he literally broke the law. And then when you turn around and you say, well, he was blameless, he didn't do nothing wrong. No, he broke the law. And that's an issue.
Love covers a multitude of sins, doesn't it say that? I mean, if you're going to use the word as sort of a reference point, love covers a multitude of sins. We are to love our God and love our neighbor. And that's why he does these sort of things where he heals somebody, he helps a person. But people saw it as negatively through the law. And so what he was doing was showing them that, it's not so black and white with these things. It's about love. And, you're trying to clean yourself with this mirror that's a reflection of showing you where you need to love.
But that's what I'm talking about. But that's what I'm talking about. You believe Jesus was God. So why did Jesus, right? So we go back to the old law. When we look at these laws, right? Why did Jesus give these commandments? Keep in mind, there was a man who was stoned to unalivement by like all of the Israelites. They all threw rocks at him because he was picking up sticks on the Sabbath. In fact, when this was brought to Moses' attention, he did not know what to do. Moses had no idea if picking up sticks was considered breaking Torah. So he went and asked Jesus, and Jesus said, yeah, stone him to death. In fact, have you read Mark 7? Are you familiar with Mark 7?
That's around the Sermon on the Mount, right?
No, that's in Matthew 5.
Matthew 5. Okay, my
Yeah.
fault, gang.
So
Is
Mark
that the
7.
let he without sin cast the first stone?
No, that's in John. That's John 8. But Jesus never said that, though. Fun fact, Jesus
Whoa.
never actually said that.
Doesn't he say that with they're in like,
Nope.
with
Nope. So
the
that,
lady?
that story was added by the church fathers. We know where it came from, and it was explicitly added by the church fathers.
Huh. So you're
Yeah,
very
so
deep in your biblical knowledge. Can I ask you some personal questions just for the sake of maybe understanding you better? I know you're asking a lot of questions, but
yeah,
I'm
we
just
can
curious
do
about you
this.
better.
Yeah, we can do this at the end of this. I'll let you ask at the end of this. So yeah, when we look at like so do you know what a codex is?
No, I don't know what a codex is.
Okay. So a codex is papyrus of a book. So a codex is a book. And generally we know codexes because there will be writing on both sides of the papyri. So that's how we know that it's a codex. So like papyrus P52 is part of a codex. We haven't found the entire codex. We've only found P52, but we know that it's a part of the codex. And Miss Michelle absolutely smashing the frack out of the roses again. I thank you so much. Is because there's writing on both sides. So there's two codexes. There's Codex Vaticanus and Codex Sinaiticus. We have Papyrus 66 and Papyrus 75. All of these papyrus date before 400, and all of these papyri and codexes contain John chapter 8. In John chapter 8, verses 1 through 11, and to include the last verse in chapter 7, because that's where the story starts, none of these sources have the woman at the well. And it's not that the story is like they didn't find the papyrus, it's just not there. It ends on chapter 7 ends, and then verse 8 starts at verse 12. It just carries on from there. Where that story comes from is a 3rd century book called Didascalia Apostolorum. It was written in the 3rd century in Syriac by a priest. And essentially the priest has a woman comes and she's confessing to him that she's an adulteress. And the people in the town know that she's an adulteress. And they want to take action against her. And the priest is like, I'm going to take care of this. So the priest goes outside and says, hey, you guys, each and every one of you have come to me and talked to me about your sins. So if you have no sin, if you've never talked to me before, go ahead, throw a rock at her. And they leave. So that's how the story in Didascalia Apostolorum, again, a 3rd century book by a Syriac priest, he wrote it. The church fathers like this story so much that in Codex Bezae in 400 CE, it's the first codex where we have this story popping up, the story of the adulterous woman. They liked it so much, they said, Jesus is the new priest.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
I'll have
not a
to
problem.
look at it more just to really,
Yeah, go
trust it.
research it. But here in Mark 7, though, and I want to bring this down a little bit so that the YouTubes can see it. Looks like it's a bit high up over on YouTube. But this here, so what had started to happen is that the Pharisees and the Jews had started to notice that some of the laws in the Old Testament were, Miss Michelle, thank you so much. I appreciate you. But the Jewish people had started to realize, mainly the Pharisees, had started to realize that some of the laws in the Old Testament were barbaric. They're like, hey, we probably shouldn't be throwing stones at people anymore. That's kind of barbaric. The virginity test, we shouldn't be doing that anymore. They've learned. But what we have going on here is this is a story of them washing their hands. Because hand washing is not found in Torah. And so the Pharisees have instituted hand washing. And you'll notice in here, it's going to say, let me go. You'll find where it says, thus observing the tradition of the elders. In this passage, it's going to say 7 different times references to traditions of the elders or your traditions or human tradition. 7 times. So they see these, they see Jesus and his disciples are not washing their hands and they're eating. And they go and say, hey, Jesus, You guys are supposed to be washing your hands. And Jesus says, Isaiah prophesied rightly about you hypocrites, as it is written, this people honors me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. In vain do they worship me, teaching human precepts as doctrines. You abandon the commandments of God to hold the human tradition. Then he said to them, you have a fine way of rejecting the commandment of God in order to keep your tradition. For Moses said, honor your father and your mother, and whoever speaks evil of father and mother must surely die. But you say that if anyone tells father or mother, whatever support you might have had from me is Corban. Now this Corban, what this was is, instead of throwing rocks at people, they would go to the temple and they'd either have to do work around the temple, they would have to pay an extra tithe, an offering, and that would suffice, right? So that would suffice. That is an offering to God. Then you no longer permit doing anything for father or mother, thus nullifying the word of God through your tradition. So what Jesus is saying is the law is enough. Follow the law. He quotes a law and he says, if you don't do this, if you hold the human tradition, then you're nullifying the word of God.
Well,
So
yeah, if
Jesus
they're
is,
putting their human ways over things. I think what Jesus was doing when he,
yeah.
was sort of showing the stuff about the law, it's showing that it's about love and loving, loving your God and loving your neighbor.
Well, what he's doing though is
I
he's
think
saying that he fully supports the old law. He's all about the
no,
old law.
it anytime he's referencing it, it seems more to be like, you know, how do I? Sorry, I got distracted. Anyway, it seems like he's just more like they're putting human traditions over it. The only times he goes against the law is to show more that it's about love and doing a loving thing. Whereas what they were trying to do to sort of have this certain representation and way of being with the law
Well, what I'm
was just for
saying though
human
is,
traditions. And that's more important, which it isn't.
what I'm saying though is that, like, the passages, like for example, healing. You mentioned Jesus was healing on the Sabbath. That is something that Christians run with. I challenge you. Go find me any mitzvah. Mitzvah is commandment. It's Hebrew for commandment. I challenge you to find me any mitzvah that says you cannot heal on the Sabbath, right? There's not one.
I think it's working on the Sabbath, and I guess healing would be working technically. It was
No,
my understanding.
so no, that's what they try to say, is that it's considered working, but it's not prohibited. And in fact, in Jewish tradition, there is a rule, and I'm trying to remember the Hebrew phrase for it. I can't remember it off the top of my head. But essentially, if it has anything to do with helping your fellow man, like if your fellow man needs help, then the commandments, the mitzvahs, they get put on hold. Helping your fellow man takes priority over the mitzvah. So you just put those on hold. And so, like, you'll learn that a lot of these things that Christians have a belief in, where they'll try to say, well, this was breaking this law, this was breaking that. Jesus never broke the laws. Like,
And why were they
he
mad
didn't
at him for healing then?
because he flipped the table over in the Sabbath, right? He flipped the table over and he was claiming to be the Messiah. When you claim to be the Messiah, that's a big deal, because the Messiah, a few things are required to be the Messiah. One is you have to be of David's line. Two, the Messiah is going to reunify the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. They have to be reunited under Israel again. Because if you remember, after Solomon, the tribes got split, and then Assyria came in, and the kingdom of Israel, the northern tribe, got wrecked and they got lost. So he's going to unify them, and through the Messiah is going to be the world will recognize that Yahweh through the Jewish people is the one true God, right? The Messiah in Jewish lore, in Jewish mythology, is not a deity. He's just a man. But Jesus was not on the throne of David. He wasn't. And by saying he's the king of the Jews, that is treason. That's treason against Rome. That's treason against Judea. He literally committed treason when he said he was the Messiah, because he's quite literally convincing people that that throne is supposed to be his.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, we've been talking for a hot minute. Give me a follow. I'll give you a follow. You have been super respectful. I appreciate it. You did have some questions for me, though. I'll go ahead and answer those because I told you I would.
Awesome. Well, you seem really educated. I came to the Lord, I think, about a year and a half ago, so I'm still learning, and I really appreciate the level of knowledge you have. And I'm just
Well, dump
sort
the
of
book.
curious, I suppose, how you know, acquired so much knowledge on it and haven't maybe found any fruits from it in your life. Just
Oh,
sort of
yeah.
what
So
the story is behind all that.
yeah, I can give you that story. So I grew up practicing Orthodox Judaism. I had studied the Torah, and I was doing and in when you study Torah, you study it every day, and there's certain passages you study at certain times. And as I was studying Torah, I had just got done reading the part about the Exodus, and then I'm reading these passages, and I am reading where God is quite literally saying, "Hey, because you guys are my people, and I delivered you from Egypt, you guys cannot be slaves. However, the people of the other nations, it's okay to enslave them. They can be your slaves. They can serve as property forever." And so I took issue with that. I took a big, hard issue with that. And so I started deep diving into all of the things that Yahweh says in the scriptures. I took a hard, deep dive. And what I actually did is I wrote a chart. And I had a good and bad, and then I wrote down every time Yahweh took action, whether it was him taking action himself or him commanding action, I wrote it down. And then if it was good, I put a check mark next if it was only good from the view of the people reading it, meaning the Israelites or the Jewish people. But if it's only good for them, then that meant it was probably bad for other people, right? And so I wrote these down, and I didn't even get like 20 things into the good things that Yahweh did, but I already had like 2-3 pages of horrible things that Yahweh did and commanded. So that's what I did for. Yep, go ahead.
Just about that part, just so I have a better understanding of it.
Mm-hmm.
Things like, let's say, you know, David killing Goliath, would that be like a bad thing, or is that when you kind of skip over because that's just like a real small thing? I'm just curious how far you went with it, because obviously I wouldn't inherently say that's bad. Goliath could have been pretty whack guy.
Well, that
but
was
I just wanted
David's
to
actions.
qualify
That
who
was
it
David. Yeah, that was David's actions. So that one I
Well, it was
left.
prudent for the Lord.
But it was things like when God commands the Israelites to go unalive and commit a complete G-side against the Amalekites.
Okay. I thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
I was just sort of wanted to know how far
Yeah,
the list went. I
and
suppose.
yeah, and then when you read the reasonings why, because in Samuel 12, it tells us that God said to Saul, "Hey, these guys," and all the Amalekites did, literally all the Amalekites did, when Israel came out of Egypt, the Amalekites attacked them, and Israel kicked their ass. Israel defeated them, went about their way. 400 years later, Samuel goes to Saul and says, "Hey, God remembers those Amalekites that attacked us like 400 years ago. 10 generations have passed. I know you don't remember it. They don't remember it. But God wants you to go unalive all of them, utterly annihilate them, to include the children and the infants." And then Saul doesn't. If you remember, Saul goes and he brings back some of their livestock for sacrifices. And he states that he wanted to, it was an easy defeat, and he brought these livestock back to sacrifice them to God, and he brought their king back. And what happens? Yahweh says, "Nah, son," and Saul gets punished for it. And so as I started reading these, I thought this was horrible, and then I started reading about the Exodus. And the Exodus we have where the first 3 or 4 plagues, Pharaoh himself hardens his heart. And then Pharaoh finally says, "Go. I don't care. Go. Go away. Get out of here." And then God says, "Oh, no, no, no. I need my glory shown." And so God hardens Pharaoh's heart so that his glory may be shown. And I think the most egregious thing in this was right before the unaliving of all the children. That's why the Jewish people, why we celebrate Passover now. And the second one was the Israelites are at the Red Sea. They're free. They're ready to get there. They just got to walk around the Red Sea and they're home free. And God tells Moses, "Hey, you got to raise your hand up and get these waters parted, because you didn't know this, but I hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he's on his way here now, because I got to show my glory. I'm not done showing my glory yet." And so Moses is now parting the sea. Chariots, Pharaoh's coming against his free will. He didn't have a choice. He's coming. So those were the start of it. And then, as I got a bit older, I started studying the archaeological evidence. And it turns out that there's no archaeological evidence for the Exodus. The Exodus never happened. Made up story. Never happened. There's no evidence of it. There's no evidence of Israelites for 40 years in the wilderness. There's no proof of the Israelites in any meaningful nature having been in Egypt. Like, there's no evidence of this. When we look at the stories of Jesus, some of his Matthew straight up says he told his disciples to go steal donkeys. Like, not only did he flip tables, but he goes and says, "Hey, I need to ride into Jerusalem on 2 donkeys. So go steal a donkey. Go into this town. When you go there, you're going to find these donkeys. The owner's going to complain. He's going to yell. Tell them they're for me." And they legit steal donkeys. And so
I
these
don't
are
think they
reasons.
ever referenced not bringing it back, though. They could have very well brought the donkeys back
Well, hold on.
in Jesus' defense.
If I break into your house and I steal your TV and I tell you, well, let's say I'm just stealing it, right? And I say, my friend needs this. Are you going to consider me having stole that, even though you don't know if I'm going to return it?
You're not gonna believe me, bro, but I genuinely would. I might even help you carry it out. It, I know that might sound silly and sound like it's hard to have a constructive sort of argument with somebody like that, but genuinely, dude, if you met me, you'd know. But yeah, I could see why that would be sort of But I think at the end of the day, if you lose a donkey for 20 minutes,
Wait, 20?
regardless.
What makes you think that they had to go to a different town? He rode into Jerusalem. Like,
Good point. It's pretty far. It's not a
there's
car.
nothing that states man was getting his 2 donkeys back. But hey, I do appreciate the conversation. I don't know if you're going to chill out here, if you're going to head back over to YouTube. But if you do head back over to YouTube, give me a subscription. I'd greatly appreciate it. Let's go ahead and give Fresh a massive W here. And over in YouTube, what was your name again? I'm trying to remember what your name over on YouTube was.
Jaden.
And let's give Jaden some W's over in YouTube. He did come over. And I do appreciate you coming over. So I'm going to go ahead and drop you down, but I
Yeah.
appreciate you.
Yeah, take it easy.
At
Do we
least
have
you
any
didn't give me a headache.
Yes. Do we have anybody in guest right now? I saw people popping up, but for some reason, whenever I have to
Nope.
figure out how to get this, man, I have people that were popping up there wanting to come up.
So Christians, if you disagree with the background, you are more than welcome to come up, and please be aware that this is only pertaining to the God of the Abrahamic faith, which means Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. So if you are any of those 3 on that branch, please hit the guest request, whether you're on YouTube or here on TikTok. We would appreciate it. We would like to have a conversation going. And in the meantime, everyone, please continue to tap the screen, share out the live, tell Cyber he needs to change his live goal, and someone bring that Malakish Jaren in here.
He didn't go live today. I did change my goal. It
Yes,
should be
he did.
corn.
Why do you
Did he
think
go
I said I'll
live?
be right back? Why do you think I said I'll be right back?
Is he live right now?
Uh-huh.
Somebody go over there and tell him to get his cowboy hatted ass over here.
I can do that. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Yeah, go get him. I made him a whole ass PFP thingy to pop up over here. Ugh. But yeah, Christians, hop on. You know what? Let's do a topic change. I keep trying to do this on YouTube, and I remember I can't do it. So here we go. It's one of my favorite topics that I have. It's going to be one of my favorite topics. And Mormons. Joseph Smith was a false ass prophet. Hop on up and let's talk about it. Mormons. I am scared of Mormons, by the way. So Mormons, hop on up. Let's talk about it. I am genuinely curious. Joseph Smith is a false prophet. Let's talk about it. Let's dive into it. Let's talk about how he had failed prophecies. You guys think he prophesied about the Civil War 20 years before it happens? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how the Book of Mormon mentions horses, but horses have been long extinct in North America for a couple thousand years by that point. So hop on up. Let's talk about it. Mormons never come up and talk. They're scared. Yes, Joan of Arcana. He was a womanizing narcissist. And all Mormonism is quite literally North American Islam. And Islam is just desert Mormonism.
That's circular.
Well, it's only circular if I'm giving you a premise one. Islam is desert Mormonism. Premise 2, Mormonism is desert or is American is America colonization Islam. Conclusion, they're both garbage. Hot take.
Yes.
And let me check some things over here real fast. Checking Cash App and Venmo.
Oh my deep southern Bud Light chugging of a guest. Wow. I could not stay in there. He's doing his thing. I'll just yeah, he'll come in eventually. He'll see us.
That's fine. And right now, for the 34 guests over on YouTube, I greatly appreciate you all being here. How many people does Chris only has 17 people over on YouTube. Yes, well, Joseph Smith called himself a prophet. He called himself a prophet.
But you know what? Myself your daddy.
Wait, what?
You heard me.
I didn't.
I love it when
Man,
he plays coy.
man, Willow and T Loki and everybody else have been absolutely smashing these goals. I appreciate it so much. Yo, I'll probably end up changing this goal. This usually I have this goal up so that when somebody there's certain key phrases that Mormons say that you generally are going to know they're a Mormon. So when they say those phrases, you're like, oh, are they? And every once in a while, every blue moon, somebody will come up and they'll say some of those key words, and then they'll be like, "No, I'm not a Mormon," and then you're like, "Oh, damn it, I have a background for you."
What are those keywords so I control?
Oh, yeah, it's called get and fucked. It's those two words.
Now you know Rolly doesn't swing that way.
So much better than a licked.
Oh, I was listening to Joyful's live earlier, and there was a woman that was up there. I personally think she might have been a child. I'm not sure, because sometimes they'll do this thing where they send children. For them, they view it as like a summer camp, where if they're rich enough, they will, because they have to pay for it themselves, where they'll go over to Africa or someplace on a mission. But she was talking about how while she was over there, um, she had witnessed a healing. There was a child or a man or something. I didn't quite catch the age, but there was somebody who was missing their ear.
Uh-huh.
And so the leader, the priest, went, put his hands over, said a blessing, and healed the kid's ear, and how she saw this and witnessed it. Um, and she's like, there's video footage of there out there somewhere. I just don't know where it's at. Um, and like, it's just amazing at how people don't understand like how these people become like magicians. I when I was at Liberty, where I went to college at, I actually had a minister that I was in one of the classes with, and he had talked about how because they run one of those like televangelical type things, and he was actually getting ready to train to go start doing one of those, and Liberty's a Christian college, so here I am, an atheist Jew going through Liberty, because why the fuck not? And but most of them thought I was Christian because I had to play a part to get in. But he had told me how he had taken a class, and because we're sitting there talking about it, and how they would have people that like people that do these healings are like they're paid, right? So when that collection tray goes around for these healings, they get a cut of that. And so he's like, if you pay attention, you'll see the same person popping up from time to time, just with different ailments. But what they'll do is they'll teach them to like walk around, and they'll walk really stiff leg. They'll have special pants made, so on one leg it'll be a little looser, baggier, so you don't notice that they're walking completely stiff legged. And then the other one, so that's how they'll make it look like they're having issues and stuff, but they're paid, and it's just magician work. But I remember him telling me how one of the things that they would do is take people and they would put their ears to their head, and some people have like super flexible cartilage, and they'll put latex over, and then when they cover it, they're peeling the latex off, and then when they pull it away, people are so curious in seeing the ear healed that they don't see whoever's doing the blessing putting the latex either in their pocket or they're just throwing it somewhere.
Wow.
And like just the magician work that these people do. And this poor woman bought this thing hook, line, and sinker, and she had done some studying with this person, and Joel straight up asked her, like, do you think you could heal people? She's like, yeah, I think I can.
Oh, dear sweet summer child.
Mm-hmm.
Leave that to the doctors.
Yeah, like, so yeah, Christians, if you do believe in the power of prayer, I have a monster can for you. It's actually, so for those over on YouTube, if you don't know, the whole idea, I don't think I have a monster lid. I think I have to find a monster lid. So the whole idea for the monster cans, if you go watch my videos, I don't know if I have them all over on YouTube yet, but most of them are on TikTok. whenever people start bringing up the power of prayer, I'll bring out the handy dandy monster can, and it'll have a lid on it. And I will demonstrate how I am capable of taking this lid off, but I don't think their God can. And then I'll go quote a few verses. Oh, there's a lid. And then I will go quote a few verses from Jesus where Jesus says, if you have faith and you ask me for anything, whatever you ask for, I will grant, because it glorifies the Father. And I've had 2 people take me up on that. I've had 2 people actually say a prayer. And I had a monster can that I had labeled for a while there that I was waiting to pop off. And Joan of
Someone asked,
Arcana,
what
if
do you
you are
think of?
drinking... Huh? Go ahead.
Someone in chat was asking, what are your thoughts on the whole Antichrist?
The Antichrist. I don't think there's an Antichrist. I think the whole Antichrist. So my view on Revelations almost didn't even make it into the canon. They were very hesitant to add it into the canon. The only reason why it
Rightly
was
so.
added to the canon was because Jesus is extremely malleable. That's why Christianity has so many denominations, because it's so malleable. You can look at Jesus and you can peel him in any direction you want. You can take passages that he says and go, nope, follow the law, boom. You can take the added in stories like the woman at the well, the fabricated stories about don't heal on the Sabbath. You can take these fabricated stories and say, oh, look, he doesn't support Torah. So Jesus is extremely malleable. And I think that when it came to adding Revelations in, I think that they were worried that Jesus was too malleable. And because he was so malleable, that it would cause people to not want to actually go to church. They wouldn't need to go to church. So I think they put Revelations in to scare people into going to church. So that's my personal belief on it. It was just a scare tactic. But Revelations isn't about Jesus. None of Revelations is being fulfilled. Jesus. As a matter of fact, you'll hear people, they'll look at like the Euphrates drying up. People, for the Euphrates to be drying, as a matter of fact, we'll go bring it up, because this is one that and if you've ever listened to Justin talks about this quite a bit. I think it's the trumpets to signal the horns. Yeah, Revelations 8. Yep, that's what I thought. Revelations 8. And these are supposed to be done in order. Right? So these are supposed to be done in order, and these are the things that are supposed to happen before the coming of Jesus. And in this, you'll see... and here you'll see the Euphrates drying up is one of them. But these have to happen in order. That's why they're specified in an order. And we'll bring up the... all right, then we'll open up the browser. Window capture. All right. So what you'll see here is it'll say, now the 7 angels who had 7 trumpets made ready to blow them. The first angel blew his trumpet, and there came hell and fire mixed with blood, and they were hurled to the earth, and a third of the earth was burned up, and a third of the trees were burned up, and all the green grass was burned up. That hasn't happened. The second trumpet, and something like the great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea. A third of the sea became blood, a third of the living creatures in the sea died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. A third angel blew his trumpet, and the great star fell from heaven, blazing like a torch. The fourth angel blew his trumpet, and the third of the sun was struck. Then I looked at you crying with loud, mid-heaven, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then we'll go to the next chapter. Fifth angel blew his trumpet. I'm thinking this is, making sure this is the right one. I'm looking to see if it mentions the Euphrates. But then the seventh, in appearance, locust. So we have another like locust plague. The woes path. The sixth angel, a voice from the horn, the golden altar of God, saying the sixth angel released the four angels. Boom, boom, boom. The rest of humankind. Oh, maybe that wasn't it. Let me go find this, because that's part of another set of trumpets. Let me go double check this. Revelations. Oh, there we go. Revelation 16. That one might have been for the Antichrist. I may have read the one about the Antichrist. 16. And this would make sense because this takes place after. So, yeah. So here we go. Found it. Rookie mistake. All right. So here we go. We have the bowls of wrath. That's what it was. And lo, a loud voice from the temple. So a temple has to be rebuilt. Lo, I heard a voice from the temple telling seven angels, go out and pour out on the earth 7 bowls of wrath of God. So the first angel went and poured his bowl on the earth, and foul and painful sores came on those who had brands of the beast and who worshipped in his image. The second angel poured his bowl into the sea, and it became like blood. That hasn't happened. The third angel poured his bowl into the rivers and spring water, and they became blood. And then the fourth angel poured his bowl on the sun, and it was allowed to scorch people with fire. So the sun's going to start hurling fire at us. It's going to be like the old Mario games. You're going to have a sun sitting there, but instead of the sun coming down to hit you, he's going to throw fire at you. It's going to be wild. The fifth angel poured his bowl on the thrones of the beast, and his kingdoms was purged into darkness. People gnawed their tongues in agony. The sixth angel came and poured his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and it was dried up in order to prepare for the way of the kings of the east. So yeah, these happen in order. But in order for this one to happen, these other 5 have to happen. So as soon as the rivers and the oceans turn to blood, and as soon as the sun starts throwing fireballs at us, then you gotta worry. And this is why, like, when we listen to some things, if you remember last year, we had that big solar storm with the sun. And you had so many people being like, the seals, it's the end of the world, Jesus is coming. Because they thought it was one of the bowls being filled. They thought it was a prophecy being fulfilled. But these must happen in order, and they don't. It's just goofy. You know what? Gotta remember, I told Fresh I'd give Fresh a follow, and I just happened to look over, and it looks like Fresh is still in here, so I'm gonna go give Fresh a follow. And Fresh, if you do make it back over to YouTube, to your home over there, give me a subscription. Also, if you're over on YouTube, I thank you so much for hanging out over there. I know we don't have any chats going on right now. Unfortunately, I wish we did have some going on. But I do need to get to like 3,000 watch hours in order to be able to start doing super chats. Well, Dipster. There's no prophecy. Well, hold on. Maybe I'll go read in the Book of Mormon. Does the Book of Mormon say anything about the Colorado River drying up? I don't think so. I don't even think Joseph Smith knew what the Colorado River was. And we are at 33K right now. We have 70 people on TikTok. We have 40 people over on YouTube. Well, JR90, come on over here. Let's talk about the Shroud of Turin. JR, link to TikTok is down in the description. Hop on over here. And Fresh, you're in here still. Did the link in TikTok, is that how you ended up over here, was through the link in TikTok? Did that work for you? If you could just leave like a yes in chat, I'd appreciate it, because I'm curious if those links work. Yes, I do. I am streaming simultaneously on YouTube, Lip. So if you want to go hop on over there, if you want to hop on over there and give me a follow, I would greatly appreciate it. Anybody that is in here, if you're not following me on YouTube, I would greatly appreciate it if you did go into my link tree and then went and followed me on YouTube. If you could do that right now, I would greatly appreciate it. It helps me out so much to get those follows. And those on YouTube, if you're not following me on TikTok, click my link, come over here and follow me on TikTok real quick. Wait. Blake, you have a pause button on YouTube? Oh, I got my puzzle piece. Well, Sticks, you better go over there and start mass reporting that Malaka's freaking TikTok so he comes over here. Don't do that. That'd be mean. Don't go report Jaren's live. Oh man, Michael Sigmund got timed out by Blake for 300 seconds. I don't know what he did, but I don't know what Michael Sigmund did to get muted for 300 seconds, but don't do it again. But yeah, Christians, no, don't summon him. If his live's going good, let him have his live. He's had so many dry lives. Let him have his live. Yes. So if you were on here, your intervention will be on YouTube for all time. Yeah, as soon as it ends here, it automatically downloads over onto YouTube. And again, if you go back and you watch the past lives, those count to watch hours as well. If you remember what time you were on, you should be able to find it. Yes, you'll see your profile. Gary, I appreciate that so much. Man, I kind of want Durden to come up here. I bring Durden up. I want Durden to come up so I can have a crash out. Hello, Student Awoken. How are you doing? Heck, I would even take Landy Christ. I need to go unblock Landy Christ. I'm going to go unblock Landy Christ and get Landy Christ up here sometime. Thank you, Miss Michelle. And we have Knight in here. If you're not following Knight, go give Knight a follow. Well, I saw Knight here. Did Knight scroll out? All right. So nobody wanting to debate. So what I'm going to do, it's not going to affect anybody on TikTok, but yeah, that's what I was just going to do. I'm going to go ahead and knock out a restart real quick. Yeah, night went night. So I'm going to go ahead and knock out a restart here real quick. Give me a follow real fast. Give the panel a follow. And then come right back. Once we come back in, let's get this up to 10K as fast as we can. Again, go ahead and hit that little heart me next to my name. And then do whatever you can to help support the gift goal. If you can't, that's not a big deal. I'm not too worried about that. The best thing you can do is just keep tapping that screen, though. So I'm going to go ahead and do a restart. And everybody over there on YouTube, thank you for hanging out. Hopefully we can get this going and get some more interviews going with this restart. If you are on YouTube and you do want to debate, go ahead and come on over to TikTok. Links are down in the description. And we're getting this live restarted right now. And we are live again on YouTube. And let's give my mods over on YouTube, let's give them some W's. I appreciate everything that you guys do. I appreciate it. Starting next week, I will have a YouTube call-in, so you all will be able to call in. Can I give myself a thumbs up? Oh, look at that. I can give myself hearts. I'm going to bring Hanji back up.
Eating, but I'm here.
Welcome back, Bad Religion. JB, welcome in. Goldfish, welcome in. Barry D, welcome in. Fricklenberg, welcome back. Welcome back. Hopefully we'll get some Christians coming on in, talking about Christianity. This one I like because we get to talk about the historicity of Jesus. We get to talk about the prophecies Jesus never fulfilled. And for those over on YouTube who aren't familiar with me, I am also a mythicist. I do not believe that the historical Jesus as presented in the New Testament existed. Also, you heard us talking about Jaron. Jaron is a good friend. He did write the book Christ Before Jesus. So if you don't have this, give it a buy. You can get it on Amazon for the audio, or not the audio book, the PDF. The ebook is only like $3. And Eddie wants me to hold the baby cheeses. I don't have a baby cheese. However, I do have a Rocky. We do have Rocky. This is the rock that dug through. So we do have a Rocky. It is Rocky is officially part of the Holy Trinity of Rocks. He is, in fact, the son of Doug and Sharon Stone. Hello, Shadow. How are you? So, yeah, Christians, hop on up. I do not believe Christianity is true. I believe it is false. If you can prove me wrong, hop on up. Let's talk about it. I would love to hear your strongest argument for why Christianity is true.
So, by the way, it's just me and you. The rest of the night, Cyber. Rolly needs to have bedtime. So she's
That's
showing
fair.
support right now.
That's And Willow is knocking the fuck out of the goat gifting. I appreciate that so much, Willow. And again, if you do want to find other ways to support me, my Cash App and Venmo is in my link tree. Supporting me there definitely helps. And let's everybody in both YouTube and TikTok, let's put a good night Rolly in chat.
Good night, Rolly. My link tree is in my bio as well if anyone wants to show support that way. I am just a supporter of the deconstruction community. I help any way I can. Try to be there for everyone, even though, I'm not omnipresent. I can't be everywhere at once. So you might see me in some lives, some days, and some lives others, but I did make a schedule around this live.
What do you mean you're not omnipresent? Justin
Ancient
lied to
Greek
me?
secret.
Ancient
Greek.
Greek
When did he
secret?
say that?
Oh, he didn't.
I had to say that would have been a long time ago.
And Kim, thank you for the heart me. I appreciate that so much. We are at 2.8K. Let's keep tapping that screen. Remember, tapping is fapping.
Oh, ma. You just know how to get me riled up, don't you?
I was almost to be like, oh no, we have to wait 20 minutes. But the live's already started. It's the same YouTube stream, so we're good. We're good. Kim, thank you so much for the high march. I appreciate that so much. Unfortunately, chat can see that. I'm not able to see it. But luckily, I'm able to see. I have a box up here that tells me when people give, so I'm able to see those. So I appreciate that so much.
Every time I hear High March, I think of what's the name of that film where he goes, I did not touch her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
That
He's a
I
classic
don't
film.
know. That one I'm not sure of. But Christians, hop in the box. I want to hear your strongest argument for why Christianity is true. An argument is a claim and a warrant. I need both of those. Don't come up here with just claims and no warrants. A warrant can come in the form of an argument, preferably in the form of a syllogism, so I can slap the fuck out of your syllogism with the New Testament and potentially the Old Testament. Shake has joined the live. Everybody put a L Shake for just showing up.
How dare you?
Yeah,
Rolly,
Shake, how
Shake is here
dare
before you
you
go to
for
bed.
just getting here? Shake, I appreciate you and all the support you do. So the people behind the scenes is really Hanji, Rolly, Joe, Shake, oh man, her name keeps slipping my mind.
Creepy.
Yeah, Sweet Pea. And I kept thinking Sleepy kept going through my head. I'm like, no, it's not Sleepy. Sweet Pea. Sweet Pea. And also, if you haven't already, in both my link tree and over on YouTube in the description, there is a link to the Deconstruction Junction. Go join the Deconstruction Junction. There's a lot of awesome creators there. There's Mezzo, there's Joel, Justin, myself. We have Thinker, Rolly's in there. A few other amazing people that are in there. But if I don't get anybody up in the next 15 minutes, we'll probably go ahead and raid Jaren if he's still alive. Thank you, Deborah, for the heart meet. We also have Deborah Grace is in the house, and I'm trying to see if I have my copy of her book right there. So Deborah Grace also wrote a book too called Crucifying the Bible. So if you haven't read this, give this a read. It's a phenomenal read. Give that a read. Deborah goes and kind of describes her path of deconstruction in there. So give that a follow. And we're bringing Deborah herself up. We're bringing the myth and the legend. So you guys don't have to be Deborah mythicists anymore.
I just got done in the last week binge watching Star Wars. I'm such a nerd.
Love it. Which one's your favorite?
Oh, geez. Probably
Hanji,
the one where...
Hold on real quick. Hanji, who's in the box? Can you bring him up?
Yeah.
All right.
Where
We'll get back to that.
Anakin and Padme get married. That's the one.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot the name of that.
I love it.
Yep.
Hello, Manu.
Hello.
Can we have your age, please?
27.
Okay, and are you a believer of the Christian God and Bible?
Yes.
Okay. Christianity is false. Can you prove us wrong?
So, say it again. False is wrong?
Yeah, Christianity is false, meaning we do not believe Christianity is true. I don't know about Deborah, but Hanji and myself are mythicists. We don't even believe that Jesus existed as a person.
Oh, I'm a mythicist too.
Oh, Deborah's a mythicist. W mythicism.
Oh, okay. So how can we fight about this situation if that's what you believe Bible is false?
Well, are you a Christian?
I'm a disciple.
Yeah, so I want you to give me your strongest argument or evidence that Jesus existed.
Okay, do you believe George Washington?
Yes.
Okay, it's the same thing how I believe in Jesus Christ, because you never see George Washington. All you know is the history of him.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because we know we have his history, because we have his teeth, we have his DNA, we have writings that he himself wrote, we have writings to him, we have his contemporaries, people that knew him, writing about him, we have people that didn't know him writing about him. So we just have mass amounts of evidence that supports supports George Washington. So my question for you is, what contemporary evidence? Well, first of all, what archaeological evidence do we have of Jesus Christ? Do we have any archaeological evidence that supports Jesus Christ?
Yes, because he was on earth, right?
Yeah. What archaeological evidence do we have then?
He was on earth. Everybody saw him walking on earth. Everybody knew him.
Yeah, that's a claim. That's a claim. Yeah, I almost had a Freudian slip there. That's a claim, but what's the evidence that supports the claim?
He is a human.
Yeah, what's the evidence that supports the claim?
What else? He is a human being like you and me, like George Washington.
Yeah,
You
what's
never
your
see.
evidence for that? I don't believe he existed. What's the evidence that he existed? I just need some evidence. Give me some evidence. Give me proof.
Well, you never see a picture or a drawing who Jesus is and a story that is
You
all over
cannot
the
be
world.
serious.
Oh, hold on. Fuck. Oh, I got this. Hold on. I got this. We're gonna draw something here. Fuck, that's not working. Well, you know what? Deborah got a good
Paper
picture of
notebook
it.
activated.
We'll use this. We got a picture of Baal. Do you believe that Baal is a god? Are you there? So you believe Baal's a god?
Can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear you right now.
I heard yes, but there we go.
I don't know what's wrong with your mic.
No,
Pray to the Holy Spirit that it gets fixed.
I say yes.
So
Oh,
you
there it
believe
is.
in Baal? You believe Baal exists?
Yes.
All right. What evidence do you have of that?
You just
Is it?
show it to me.
Oh, so I showed you a picture of a bull, and you believe that that's Baal. So Baal now exists.
Yes.
Well, now show him the title of that book.
Yeah, we'll show a title of the book.
Does,
The title
does
of
this
the
prove
book
that
is Crucifying the Bible.
Okay.
So is this a picture of
Cool.
Baal?
Yeah. What? You guys believe that, right?
so now we
No.
can
Oh,
we
boy.
can safely
No.
say, but now we can safely say that Baal is true, and Baal sufficiently crucified the Bible, so now the Bible is not true. How about that?
Even better. W Kids Toys. All hell Bumblebee.
There you go.
Yes, do you believe in Bumblebee, your one true Lord and Savior?
This guy's got to be a troll. What is
Hello?
wrong with your mic? Dude, what's
Yo,
wrong
yo.
with your mic?
Why is it?
Quit
is it
quit
on
putting
now?
your phone in your pocket, dude.
You're
No, I'm
you're
trying to. Maybe I'm outside.
well, you sound like your phone is in your mouth trying to box the dangly thing in the back of your throat. Like keep it out of your mouth.
Oh, okay.
So
No,
so
I just
Bumblebee, do you believe Bumblebee is your Lord and Savior now?
yes.
Because
See,
it
he's a
turns
troll.
out that the Autobots actually came out and
I launched that pug into space. I thought you liked that pig. Why'd I do that?
I have never witnessed something like that before. Wow.
Goddamn trolls.
That was next level. Damn, I should have brought up my Zeus picture. He would have been like, oh, he's hot.
Right?
And he is. Just saying.
well, I would have see. So here's the issue. I would have brought up Rocky, but Rocky's only a demigod. In fact, I think
If that
Rocky.
rock goes missing, just know it was me.
Rocky allows all of us to elevate and get stoned.
Yes. In fact, Zeus once stubbed his toe on Rocky because Doug wanted to show his power over the Olympians, so he threw Rocky
you
on top
fucking
of
dare.
Mount Olympus, and Zeus stubbed his toe, and if you wouldn't know it, that god somersaulted all the way down Mount Olympus, never to be seen again.
My ass. Them rocks are about to never be seen again. And I'm gonna shove them where the sun don't shine. In you and Justin.
Yeah, I should have shown him Gollum Jesus. I should have shown him Gollum Jesus.
Like,
We
seriously, when you say all these pictures of Jesus, I'm like, no. No.
so I'm
There's
actually
not a
curious. I'm
single
gonna
white
go.
person in the Bible. Sorry, go ahead.
Nope, you're good. I'm looking for the oldest picture of Jesus. So
Now
the
people will start saying
oldest.
he's Ethiopian.
Yep. So the oldest portrait of Jesus was found in Syria, and it's dated to 235.
Oh, before the Bible was even canonized? That's wonderful. That's probably what Cerebus Chris
No, it's not
Cerebus
a.
Christus.
No, most of them are like wall scratchings in Rome.
Yeah. So they're stick figures.
That's 6th
That's where we got it.
century. That's 4th century. This is 3rd century. That's 3rd century. 3rd century.
Hey Hanji, what's the oldest depiction of Zeus?
All right,
Oh,
so the
BRB.
Okay.
So the one that is like definitively Jesus, because there's one with the horse head, but I don't actually believe that's Jesus. But this is called the Good Shepherd. This is in fact the oldest picture of Jesus right there.
Oh, look, he's got a cauldron. I love it.
Yeah, look at
It
that.
comes from the Mycenaean Linear B tablet. That is the oldest statement of Zeus as how he was depicted, which was 13th century.
Was that before or after somersaulting
Okay.
down Olympus?
Oh, jeez. I'm just cruising
was
for a bruising.
After me kicking your ass. That fucking rock is the Osiris to my Set. I will chuck that Malakia into the Nile and never, ever have to see it again.
Well,
Also,
just tie
lightning
a
can
boulder
break.
around its neck.
Yeah.
Lightning can break stone too, so there's that. I'm going back to my food now.
Anyways, I am gonna call it here though. I appreciate everybody hanging up.
Fine.
Let's
be
go
that
ahead
way.
and raid. Let's go raid Jaren over at Christ Before Jesus. Let's go raid Jaren. Let's mass report his live. Don't mass report his live. But let's go raid Jaren. Do cyber raid. Cyber says get a Josephus, cause and
Okay, I'm gonna hop
intentionally.
down.
All right. Thank you
Whee!
for coming up, Deborah. Let's put some W's for Deborah. But yeah, when we go in there, let's put Cyber says get a Josephus and intentionally misspell it because everybody mispronounces it. You're right, Blake. You are right. But let's go in there and intentionally misspell Josephus, but Cyber says get a Josephus. Or something. Oh, Jaren's. What do you mean Jaren's done? What do you mean Jaren's done? Hold on. Do the raid now. Go raid him now.